Discover how a general's unexpected entrance transformed a mocked veteran's incredible metal truth. Billy Anderson sat at the counter of the Blue Plate Diner, his grease-stained hands wrapped around a chipped coffee cup. The chatter of his old high school classmates filled the room, laughter bubbling over their conversations about promotions and family vacations. But the moment they spotted him, their mirth shifted. They exchanged glances, smirks creeping across their faces, as if relishing a shared joke where he understood none of the punchlines. Just a year ago, he had been honored for his bravery overseas. Now, the chatter felt like daggers, aimed at his scarred psyche. "Look at ol' Billy in his fancy mechanic clothes," one of them jeered, a former football star who used to choke on the smell of victory. The laughter that followed was more than just friendly ribbing, it was mockery stolen from his very scars. "Just couldn't he handle the heat, huh?" Another chimed in, the laughter tightening around him like a noose. He wanted to retaliate, to remind them of the nightmare he bore, a battle not just with bullets but with ghosts that haunted him every single night. Instead, he remained silent, a heavy sadness pooling in his chest, mingling with resentment. It was one of those moments when being back felt like being an outsider in his own life. His quiet turmoil boiled over as he glanced toward the exit, wishing for Sarah's comforting smile, her encouragement ringing through his mind. "You've got this, Billy." The mounting pressure of financial strain added weight to his burdensome past. The garage was barely scraping by, and each derisive comment stung more than the last. Before he could spiral further into despair, a ripple of tension coursed through the diner as the door swung open. The cloudy afternoon light framed a tall figure entering the room, a retired general, crisp in his uniform, exuding an authority that demanded attention. Conversations died, and eyes turned toward him, wide with respect and intrigue. His gaze swept the diner, landing on Billy, the soldier who wore his invisible wounds like a badge. "Billy!" the general called, cutting through the silence with a voice that resonated like a drum. "I've heard about your service." He strode toward Billy, causing the air itself to shift with a new energy. "Let me tell you a story." Billy felt his heart race as the general began recounting a classified mission, one that tied Billy's name to valor and secret honor. As the words flowed, the previous laughter died, suffocated under the weight of revelation. He brought countless soldiers home, he earned a medal for bravery, one that should never have remained in shadows. And still, here he is, struggling to reclaim his place, the general said, pointing directly at Billy. For a split moment, Billy felt something swell within him, too complex for words. Could it really be that the wayward whispers of his past, moments long buried under shame and disbelief, could be unmasked? Mixed feelings surged through the room as eyes darted between laughter and sober contemplation. Billy's body trembled. Could he finally reclaim how they saw him? They gazed on with uncertainty. His emotions spiraled as anger surged through him. How could they not understand? Could they really laugh about what he had lost, the peace that was still eluding him? The moment of attention now felt like a spotlight, illuminating shadows he had hoped to conceal. Anxiety surged with every breath, a storm rolling within him. And as the diner buzzed with conversations shifting from mockery to respect, doubt slithered its way back. Was he worthy of honor? Of understanding? The echoes of their laughter wavered, but the crisis within Billy still threatened to unravel. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the general walked away, leaving a trail of hushed whispers and new conversations that clipped through the tension, an ugly realization settled within him. This was merely the beginning. Could he transform that unexpected recognition into a turning point, or would the shadows forever haunt him? The diner buzzed with energy, but all Billy could feel was the weight of the truth pressing down on him, wondering if he'd ever truly be seen. The tension wrapped around him like a thick fog as he faced his past and anticipated an uncertain future. Would this be the moment he began to reclaim his story, or merely another reminder of the burden he bore? The murmur of conversations receded into the background as Billy sat, grappling with the enormity of the General's words. Each syllable echoed in his mind, dredging up memories of camaraderie, fear, and a courage he had believed long extinguished. He had returned home, medal in hand, but the invisible scars of war clung to him with a tenacity that eclipsed any sense of recognition. He took a deep breath, aiming to steel himself against the mounting tide of emotions warring inside him. The diner, now a whirlwind of admiration and curiosity, felt both alien and familiar. If the general could ignite a flicker of respect in that room, perhaps he could do something more profound with it. The question struck hard: could he, Billy Anderson, redefine not just how others perceived him but how he viewed himself? Still, uncertainties gnawed at the edges of his resolve. What did it mean to reclaim his story? Would he find strength or further disappointment? He envisioned himself confronting those classmates, standing firm, and yet the impulse faded beneath self-doubt. His heart raced at the very thought of confrontation, then morphed into a quiet acknowledgement of the need for action. Feeling suddenly unmoored, he made his way outside for air. The brisk wind cut through the lingering tension, giving him room to breathe. He walked slowly, focused on the rhythm of his steps, hoping to ground himself. As he meandered through the nearly empty street, the sun began its descent, casting golden hues that reminded him of brighter days. His mind shifted to the garage. Business had been tough since he returned from deployment, and recent bills weighed heavily on his shoulders. He needed solutions, not just for monetary distress but for his sense of purpose. He thought of the mechanics in his shop, their laughter, the camaraderie forged over oily tools and late-night fixing sessions. If he could turn the respect he felt into something tangible, something that translated into action for his life, he'd have leverage. Billy decided then that it was time to assert himself not merely as a victim of his past but as a veteran with a mission. Mending the garage's fortunes could be a path toward proving his worth, restoring pride to the hallowed name he felt had been tarnished. He envisioned organizing a weekend event, possibly a car show or a community workday, celebrating veterans and craftsmanship. This act could bridge connections, reshape his identity, and perhaps, reroute the perception of those classmates who had belittled him. Determined, he hurried back to the diner, fueled with purpose. But before he could boost his resolve and share his idea, the familiar jeers rang out again, sharper and more insistent this time. A group had followed him outside, emboldened by the General's visit to ridicule him further. "Look who's talking big now." One laughed, his voice dripping with disdain. "What's next, a charity fundraiser for your tears?" Billy's heart raced, anger igniting once more as he clenched his fists. The temptation to defend himself surged, to unleash the truth he had kept bottled away. But he paused, recognizing that this moment presented a choice, one that could either entangle him in the same cycles of shame or propel him toward growth. Would he confront them now, risking further humiliation, or could he harness the raw anger within to fuel a more constructive vision? The General's words flickered in his mind, igniting a burgeoning fire of determination amidst the drudgery of petty insults. The choice ahead felt monumental. Was this going to be his stand, or would he retreat once again? He had the power to shape his narrative. He took a step forward, breathing deeply, contemplating the beginnings of his answer, while the laughter echoed around him. The time had come to face not just his classmates but the adversities that had shackled him for so long. What would he choose to do next? Billy felt the weight of the crowd pressing in, laughter morphing into a tangible force that threatened to engulf him. His instincts screamed to retaliate, to hurl back the taunts that had plagued his youth. Yet, in that moment, he realized the importance of his response. This was not just about silencing their mockery, it was about reclaiming his story, a narrative that had been co-opted by the judgment of others. Taking a breath filled with resolve, he considered what confronting them could mean. Instead of reacting out of anger, he could choose to educate, shift the gaze from his past to his present. With a newfound clarity, he felt something shift internally. These weren't just classmates, they were reflections of the insecurities he had battled for years. If he had ever wanted respect, it was time to earn it, but not through the lens of spite. "Hey!" Billy's voice broke through the haze of ridicule, unexpected and commanding. The laughter waned, curiosity permeating the air as he stepped forward. "You think you know me?" He could feel the intensity of their gazes now, the hollowness of their laughter dissipating. He met the eyes of the ringleader. "You're right, I'm not talking big. I'm trying to be true to myself for once. It took me a long time to realize that, you know. A medal doesn't define who I am." Silence swallowed the crowd, a smattering of surprise flickering across faces where laughter had once thrived. What had he done? Had he just exposed himself a choice wrapped in vulnerability? Yes, but he also stood at the precipice of change, a chance to define himself outside of their scorn. What followed next could either propel him into deeper shame or propel him forward. "Every one of us has a battle," Billy continued, his voice steadying as he spoke. "You think you're tough, but are you brave enough to acknowledge your own story? I survived something and came back to find respect wherever I could. It hasn't been easy, and I suspect it never will be." His pulse quickened, he was laying bare his heart, offering pieces he had kept hidden. A ripple of shifting expressions flowed through the onlookers. Where there had been disdain, now appeared a comprehension, perhaps even an inkling of respect mingled with confusion. This unexpected response caught Billy off guard. He had not anticipated such a moment. Vulnerability often was less appreciated than projected strength. After a moment, laughter erupted once more, but this time it was different. It was punctuated with an awareness he hadn't expected. While some were still mocking, others glanced at him contemplatively, perhaps seeing not just a target but a human trying to recover his identity. Stepping back, his heart was still racing, but this time it was the exhilaration of having taken control. What he did next could shape the route forward into authenticity or back toward the shadows of insecurity. Billy's vision shifted toward the garage, now a sanctuary he yearned to redeem. The thought of that community event, the camaraderie it could ignite, one that honored veterans without the lens of ridicule, took root. He'd need to harness the courage he had just discovered to carry through on this vision. Turning away from the crowd, he felt the tension lessen, replaced by the ember of purpose. Could he face the mechanics at the garage next, share the idea to celebrate their craft and skills? Imagining them rallying behind him filled him with anticipation and anxiety. Yet, another question loomed larger. Would confronting his classmates lead to more confrontation, or would it plant the seeds of understanding? Would they learn something about the sacrifices some made or regress into self-protective laughter once more? The potential of those unanswered questions echoed within him, setting a stage for the next step. What awaited him on this path of assertiveness, clarity, and courage? Would he ignite a change or face yet another wall of resistance? The answers were out there, waiting to be discovered. Billy took a steadying breath as he approached the garage, the metal door creaking slightly in the afternoon sunlight. It mattered that he was here. This space had been a part of his life even when he felt invisible. Rolling up his sleeves, he squashed the lingering anxiety that buzzed beneath the surface. Today was different from any other day in this sanctuary of grease and machinery. As he stepped inside, the familiar scent of oil and old tires wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. This was a realm where he felt he could showcase his inner resolve. The mechanics were scattered about, busy with their projects, laughter occasionally punctuating the air. Each chuckle echoed Billy's past his classmates' taunts. Yet today, he thought to redirect that laughter and energy into something productive. "Hey, everyone!" He raised his voice, conscious that he was both a veteran and a man wanting to be seen for more than his past. A few turned toward him, pausing to wipe grease-soaked hands on old rags, their expressions ranging from curiosity to indifference. "I caught some unexpected attention today," Billy began, glancing at the few mechanics who had assembled nearby. It's made me think about how we define ourselves. I want to talk about how we should celebrate who we are and what we've all been through. I'm proposing we do something special. Tentative nods emerged amidst smirks and raised eyebrows. Some blustered in their usual playful mockery. But this time, it was veiled with an uncertainty that intrigued Billy. It stemmed from the very vulnerability he had offered to his former classmates. "What were you on about, Billy?" One mechanic joked, his tone teasing but not unkind. "You trying to win a medal for best speech?" Billy smiled, but something more than humor flashed in his eyes. "Actually, yeah. Recognizing our own battles is tough, isn't it? We've all faced challenges, and I think we can honor those challenges." A shift occurred in the atmosphere. The camaraderie of their shared experiences began to trump any teasing. He observed these men who put pride into their work, and suddenly he felt emboldened by their essence. "You're all skilled mechanics. Each of you has earned respect and recognition in your own way. What if we did something together that shined a light on our crafts?" One mechanic leaned back against a toolbox, arms crossed. "What do you mean, specifically? Like a showcase?" The skepticism was clear, yet there was a glimmer of interest lurking behind the bravado. "Yeah. A showcase. But make it something deeper, something that connects us as veterans and mechanics. A way of sharing stories, of bonding, to recognize our skills and the roads we've traveled. No mockery attached." As he spoke, Billy felt fear and hope intertwine, separate threads beginning to weave into a cohesive idea. Silence followed. Each mechanic seemed to weigh the prospect of displaying their lives openly, peeling away facades put up over years of labor. He saw them not as judgmental classmates, but as people capable of support. "What's the angle?" another mechanic asked, voice low and introspective. "Sounds like a lot of work for not much gain." "Maybe," Billy acknowledged, his heart pounding. "But maybe it could be about how we reclaim our narratives not just as veterans or mechanics, but as survivors. We could bring pride back into our identities." "I know I want that." In that moment, a transformation flickered among them. He could feel the potential for unity, even if initially hesitant. But would they rally behind him? Would the men who had mastered their work see their paths as intertwined with his? An unyielding pressure filled the room as more questions lurked on the horizon. Could he truly turn a mix of individuality and community spirit into something shared? Would he inspire trust in their collaboration? The unease thrummed between him and the mechanics, setting the stage for decisions that would ripple through not just their lives, but his own journey toward lasting respect. Billy stared into the murky depths of possibility, an idea stirring in the shadows, silent yet demanding to be brought into the light. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a figure stepped inside, a general, even more imposing in uniform than Billy remembered from years ago. What did this unexpected entrance mean for him now? Would it disrupt the fragile progress he had made? His heart raced again, but this time it wasn't just anxiety, it was something new, anticipation. The general stepped into the garage, a commanding presence that snapped everyone to attention. Billy felt the room freeze around him. The familiar figure of a man he had once admired, now suddenly felt like a weight hanging over his shoulders. Marek, the general's name came flooding back to him, bringing a rush of old memories, how he had once looked up to him, and how that respect had crumbled along with his own self-worth. "Billy!" the general boomed, his voice slicing through the thick tension. "I heard you've been stirring things up among your friends here." There was an edge to the general's tone that made Billy's stomach churn, conflicting concern and residual admiration bubbling up inside him. "Doesn't it seem strange that you chose to rally them now?" Billy stood taller, grappling with a surge of defensiveness. "I thought it was time we acknowledged our journeys and skills, sir. We've all had our battles." He could feel the eyes of his peers flickering from the general to him, gauging the potential fallout. "Motivational speeches don't win medals, son. What are you really proposing? The general's gaze scrutinized, seeking any hint of weakness. It felt like an interrogation, the unspoken challenge hung in the air between them, a gauntlet thrown down. Something deeper than a display, Billy replied, the determination pushing back his fear. A way of celebrating actual battles won not just in war, but in our lives. Building respect amongst ourselves, from our stories. Marek chuckled, a low sound devoid of warmth. Stories only go so far. The world demands more than words if you want recognition. The laughter in the garage faded as the gravity of the general's response settled. Could it be that the man he saw as an authority wielded more power than he understood? The thought pierced through him, was Billy's pursuit of acknowledgement futile? He felt the eyes of the mechanics, once filled with tentative curiosity, now clouded with doubt. Had he jeopardized his fragile chance at connection? No, he thought fiercely. I'm not giving in. Looking back at Marek, Billy met his gaze defiantly. We can create something worthy, something powerful. In that moment, Billy saw it not just as a showcase but as a reclamation of their identities. Marek, struck by the fire in Billy's voice, folded his arms. Ambition is one thing, but respect comes with hard work and results. You think those guys will support this? There was an unmistakable challenge in his words. Across the room, the other mechanics shifted. Unconvinced, a few exchanged glances, some shrugged and turned back to their tools. The moment both exhilarated and terrified Billy. What if his idea truly fell flat? Guys! Billy called, desperation creeping into his voice. This could mean something for all of us. Imagine the pride in showcasing who we are, where we've been. We've fought hard, each with our own battles. We deserve a platform. But as his words echoed in the silence, only the mechanical whirring of tools filled the void. That familiar tightness in his chest returned. Was he destined to wrestle with proving his worth relentlessly? Would the general's skepticism suffocate the hope he had ignited just minutes ago? Marek's piercing eyes were fixed on him, weighing Billy's resolve. You don't think they're laughing at you, do you? You might want to think long and hard about what you're proposing. Every nerve in Billy's body thrummed with a push-pull dynamic, the fear of being laughed at again and the desperate urge to prove them wrong. He needed to show the mechanics, show himself, that he could carve out a new identity amidst the ghosts of the past. Determination clouded his mind as he considered his next move. What course of action could he take now? Was it worth risking further alienation to chase this increasingly nebulous dream of unity? As Billy stood there, the contrasting tension churned in his gut as new possibilities unfolded. The stakes had risen, and there was no turning back. It was time to seize not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever been sidelined. This moment needed to define him anew, but would it be enough to sway the crowd or evoke the unyielding judgment of his past? Billy took a breath, steeling himself for whatever challenge lay ahead. The moment had arrived to confront not only the looming scrutiny of the general but the internal doubts that washed over him. Would he find the courage to navigate through this unexpected war for respect? In that charged silence, he felt the question looming within him: would he rise or fall in this moment that could determine his path forward? Billy's heart raced within the confines of his chest, each beat amplifying the weight of Marek's scrutiny. The garage felt almost claustrophobic, a tight space filled with the electric tension that crackled between Billy and the general. Marek's figure loomed larger than life, an image from Billy's past that now felt as daunting as an insurmountable mountain. He realized the need to pivot this moment, this stagnant silence, into something dynamic. Respect isn't just earned on the battlefield, General, he declared, surprising even himself with the steadiness in his tone. It's about acknowledging the ongoing struggles we face, day in and day out. We've fought our own wars, and those stories deserve the same honor as any medal. The general raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite himself. The mechanics shifted restlessly, and for a brief moment, he felt a flicker of belief within himself. Perhaps if he could share the weight of their struggles, he could fashion a narrative more compelling than the one Marek was pushing against them. Every dent in our lives tells a story, he continued, feeling a small flame ignite inside him. The pain of losing friends, the battles with our own demons, these are our medals. Why not give ourselves the recognition we've earned? Even as he spoke, doubts about his words crept in. Would they see him as a clown risking ridicule, or as a man genuinely seeking unity? Marek's expression softened slightly, a nuanced shift that made Billy wonder if he struck a chord. If you want recognition, you'll need to show them something they can respect, Marek countered, his tone laced with guarded encouragement rather than outright scorn. Actions speak louder than your words. The challenge was palpable, but within it lay an undeniable opportunity to exhibit the very qualities Billy sought to inspire in others. Then let us act, Billy urged, his voice regaining momentum. I want to create something tangible, an exhibition, if you will. A chance to share our battles and accomplishments in a way that honors our experiences. We can showcase images, tell stories, and connect our struggles so they feel validated. The mechanics, still skeptical but intrigued, broke their silence. Several leaned in, murmuring among themselves. He could feel the doubt beginning to shift, like gears meshing into place. And how do you plan on getting their attention? Marek pressed on, crossing his arms with a hint of challenge in his voice, as if gauging how far Billy was willing to go for his vision. By leading from the front, Billy replied, conviction fueling his response. I'll start with my own story, show everyone that I'm not afraid to expose my vulnerabilities. I'll be the first to step into the unknown, risking the laughs and judgments. If I'm willing to do it, maybe others will, too. The reality of his words hung thick in the air, and it became clear that transparency was as crucial to this endeavor as courage. Billy felt a layer of fear peel away, revealing something deeper, a need for authenticity that had laid dormant. Perhaps through his own willingness to confront the past, the others might feel empowered to reclaim their own narratives. The general studied him intently, taking in the shift in Billy's resolve. After what felt like an eternity, Marek finally spoke, I admire your ambition, but you need a plan, one that involves more than just sharing stories. You'll need to dig deep into what gives your experience value. Billy took a deep breath, his mind whirring at the prospect of crafting this vision into something actionable. Ideas began to bounce around his thoughts like pinballs, each leading to another possibility. Would he leverage the garage's tools, or create a digital space? What stories would resonate? All right, then, he replied, his voice steadier now. I'll assemble a meeting. We'll brainstorm how to put this together, map out the stories we want to share. I'll need everyone's input, everyone's voices matter. As he spoke, a smile cracked on the stoic face of one of his peers, a glimmer of hope sparking in his eyes. Billy recognized that smile, it was the same one he had worn during his own moments of defiance. With a gaze towards the general, he added, you'll see, this is about creating honor where it's due, breaking the stereotypes placed on us, transforming our stories into a powerful narrative. Even as he declared his intentions, Billy felt a twinge of fear creep in, the fear of failing again, of being exposed in a moment of vulnerability. What if they dismissed him? But there was no turning back. He had lit a fuse, and now it was time for the explosion of change. Let us get to work, he said, embracing the turmoil swirling in his chest, ready to confront whatever would come of this bold reclamation. As his peers nodded, some tentative but others now emboldened, Billy sensed the moment's significance. It was just the beginning of a long journey. What other hidden truths might arise as they ventured into the depths of their shared experiences? The answer lay ahead, a tantalizing unknown waiting to be uncovered. Billy's excitement simmered beneath the surface as he gathered the mechanics for the first meeting. Each hesitant nod from his peers intensified his resolve, yet thoughts of self-doubt loomed like shadows. The scars of his past still whispered caution, what if he stumbled again? Was this ambition merely a fleeting fantasy? He set up the garage, positioning a worn-out table in the center, a whiteboard leaning against a wall, yet unbroken. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead, illuminating the grit and grime, the backdrop of their shared experiences. The garage was more than just a sanctuary for automobiles, it was a crossroads of their lives, a place where every darkness could ignite the light of truth. As the mechanics filtered in, their expressions ranged from skepticism to curiosity. Billy's heart pounded in anticipation and fear, propelling him forward. They gathered around him, and when silence fell, the weight of their collective expectations pressed heavily upon his shoulders. "Thank you all for coming," he began, gripping the edge of the table to steady himself. "This isn't just about me. It's about us. It's about owning our stories and recognizing the courage it takes to even bring them to light." He sensed the gravity of his words, the challenge emerging as a palpable pulse running through the room. Tension wrapped around them, constricting, yet he pressed on. "Let me share my story first. Some of you know bits and pieces, but today, I want to lay it all out raw and real." Beneath the fluorescent lights, Billy opened a door into his world. He recounted his deployment, the anxiety that coiled tightly in his gut, the freeze of uncertainty he felt every time he faced a decision. As he spoke, the General's earlier words reverberated in his mind, the need for a narrative worth respecting. He faced his audience, willing them to see the vulnerabilities that shaped him. "I was scared," he admitted, his voice rising and falling like a ship on a turbulent sea. "I made wrong choices, lost friends, battled my own mind as much as external threats. But those moments," he hesitated, feeling the weight of vulnerability, "but pushing through those moments taught me more about bravery than any medal could capture." The room remained still, absorbing his honesty. One of the mechanics, a man named Dan, shifted in his seat. "It takes guts to say that," he muttered, his expression softening. Billy locked eyes with him, recognizing a tremor of understanding. "Exactly," Billy replied, emboldened. "It's in the admitting and sharing that we create a bridge. This isn't just my journey, it's ours. We've all had moments that shaped us, moments where we, too, felt like our stories didn't matter. Let us turn those experiences into pillars of strength." The group stirred. Curious glances bounced between them, some nodding in quiet agreement. Memories of their own brushed against the air like static, yet a common thread began to weave among them. There was something powerful at play here, an instinct to connect forged from shared difficulties. "I want to hear your stories," Billy urged, igniting the conversation ahead. "What battles have you fought? What lessons did you learn?" His enthusiasm electrified the air, and as he opened the floor, voices began to rise. Dan shared his experience of returning home and feeling displaced, while another mechanic spoke of rekindling strained family ties post-deployment. Billy listened intently, every revelation adding bricks to a growing monument of shared resilience. Their individual stories painted a broader tapestry of pain, strength, and redemption. Each anecdote resonated with Billy, fueling the urgency of his purpose. Yet, amid the encouragement, a shadow lurked. Billy's instincts warned him: was he truly leading this discussion, or merely orchestrating a round of self-indulgent catharsis? He saw the glint of hesitation in Mirek's eyes, a critical observer waiting for substance beneath the unfolding rawness. "No, just sharing isn't enough," Billy spoke to himself internally, the realization piercing through his excitement. He felt the weight of responsibility, the need to transform their narratives into something actionable. How can we channel this into respect? How do we make it meaningful? Before his worries could take root, a hand shot up in the back corner, an unexpected question flooding the room with tension. But what if sharing only opens old wounds? What if it hurts more than it heals? The query hung in the air like a dark cloud, prompting waves of uncertainty. Billy's heart sank as he faced the collective gaze, doubts that had lingered at the edge of his aspirations crashed back in. Would their openness unleash chaos? Feeling the pulse of the moment, he took a deep breath, recognizing that vulnerability could just as easily be a tool for growth or a source of pain. We push through, he declared, feeling conviction swell within, because the truth is, healing is never easy, but keeping those wounds hidden is far more damaging. As shadows flickered across the garage walls, a growing resolve ignited in Billy's heart. This meeting was not the summit of their journey, only a pivotal waypoint in understanding their shared complexities. He felt the weight shift, balancing between fear and courage, a dance entwined in vulnerability and strength. With newfound urgency, they rallied around the table, beckoning possibilities and mapping out their next steps. Yet as they strategized, a whisper of doubt lingered at the edges of Billy's mind. Their stories mattered, but was he capable of forging them into something transformative? As Billy scribbled notes on the whiteboard, the weight of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Would their journey into truth lead to acceptance, or pull them deeper into unresolved pain? The answer hung in the air, ready to unravel just as the next phase of their endeavor began. Billy's mind raced as the conversation swirled around him. Ideas cascaded, each one more ambitious than the last, yet doubts tangled like weeds in his mind. Could they turn this recognition of pain into something worthwhile? Or was he merely a puppet, orchestrating a performance of healing that might leave deep scars rather than soothe old wounds? Let us identify our values, he suggested, breaking through the din. What holds us together beyond our struggles? What binds our stories in a way that matters? The question hung in the air, and he watched as each mechanic took a moment reflecting, mulling over the implications. Billy felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This wasn't just about discussing pain. It was about sculpting a path toward resilience. Mirek leaned forward, fingers steepled beneath his chin. Respect, he declared. That's what we want. Respect for what we've been through, and respect for who we are now. Absolutely, Billy agreed, the spark igniting a fire in his veins. If we can embody respect in our stories, that's what will resonate. It's not about making the past pretty, it's about owning it. Several mechanics nodded, and a sense of genuine connection began to course through the room. Fueled by their collective resolve, the conversations deepened. One by one, they articulated what respect meant to them: acceptance from families, recognition from peers, forgiveness for their own missteps. Each word reinforced the structural integrity of their budding coalition. As discussions unfolded, Billy noticed a distinct shift in himself. The rumble of uncertainty was quieting, replaced by a burgeoning belief in their shared mission. The stories that had sprawled chaotically in his mind were beginning to align, each moment of vulnerability serving as a bookmark not just of pain, but of growth and insight. Fueled by this newfound clarity, he posed a challenge. What if we compiled these narratives? Not just for ourselves, but for others? Each journey we've traveled can be a guide for someone still in the shadows. But then a flash of uncertainty pierced through his enthusiasm. What if we fail? He thought, gnawing on the feelings stirring inside him. What if our stories hurt more than they heal for someone else? Are we thinking too big? Dan chimed in, the skepticism creeping back into his tone. Writing a book or whatever this is sounds noble, but what if no one cares? What if it changes nothing? The quiet criticism struck hard, a reminder that not everyone might see the vision as he did. Billy's shoulders tightened, grappling with the validation of fear. No, he countered, feeling fire ignite within. That's the point of sharing. If we're scared to put ourselves out there, who are we meant to inspire? Growth is embedded in vulnerability, and yeah, it will be difficult. But every great story starts from the edge of fear. The resonance of his words captivated them once more. Slowly, the tides began to shift, questioning faces softened into nods. He recognized the tentative embers of trust igniting between them, flickers of a collective determination. He could feel the energy in the room transforming, helping them push past the thresholds of self-doubt, weaving fear and courage into a tapestry of ambition. Billy decided it was time to assert more direction. Let us make a plan. We can set up smaller focus groups, keep writing our stories, and share them in a way that honors our truths. We can create something that may even help others. Let us commit to this not just as mechanics, but as veterans, as men seeking to heal. As the words left his lips, something shifted, the atmosphere crackling with potential. Conversations erupted, nerves easing as they began to formulate their pact. Yet amidst the surge of momentum, Billy felt a pang of skepticism resurface. Was it truly possible to sustain their energy in the face of looming darkness? Before he could spiral too deeply, Marek's voice cut through, breaking the anticipatory silence. What happens if we're not ready for the scrutiny that comes with sharing our truths? The question resonated, striking at the heart of a deeper fear. Could they face the backlash of revealing their vulnerabilities? For each story shared, there came a chance that acceptance might remain elusive. With a sense of gravity that felt palpable, Billy raised a finger. We'll prepare. We'll learn from each other and grow stronger together. This is just the beginning, and embracing the challenge could reshape our lives. As they delved back into discussion, intertwining ambition and anxiety, the tension between vulnerability and risk lingered, each mechanic wrestling with his own hesitation, forging a river of determination in the wake of their collective uncertainties. But just as the energy began to build again, a figure silhouetted in the doorway disrupted their newfound focus. A sharp voice sliced through the air, commanding attention as it demanded clarity to the rumbled plans laid out in the garage. Are you all seriously considering putting yourselves out there? Against the odds? Billy's heart stuttered momentarily, uncertainty brewing anew. The newcomer's presence heralded a confrontation filled with consequences, and he instantly sensed the challenge that lay ahead. What does this mean for us? Billy thought, staring at the figure before them, resolved to face whatever lay ahead. The figure in the doorway stepped into the light, revealing a man whose uniform glinted with medals, distinctions earned through grit and endurance. The hall's casual atmosphere shifted abruptly, tension rippling through the gathered mechanics like a shockwave. Billy's heart raced as he processed the scene. The newcomer was not just any general, he was a living testament to the very struggle they sought to articulate. What do you want? Marek asked bluntly, breaking the silence with a steely edge. The general's stare skimmed over the group before settling on Billy, his gaze assessing, almost challenging. I heard you're planning to share your stories, to turn your pain into some kind of project. But every story carries weight. Are you ready for what comes next? Billy swallowed hard, his throat dry. This was a crossroads. What they envisioned was both honorable and daunting. We're ready to face it. Sharing is part of healing, he responded, but even as the words left his lips, he felt the conviction waver. Was he truly ready to face the reactions, the potential ridicule from someone so steeped in the military tradition? The general chuckled softly, but there was no humor in the sound. Healing? You think it's that easy? Stories mean nothing if they're not backed by action. You're stepping into a world that craves authenticity but punishes the weak. What do you think will happen when people don't resonate with your tales? Billy's mind raced against the general's words. You have to let people decide what resonates, he replied, trying to maintain some sense of composure despite the tightness in his chest. What matters is the honesty in sharing our experiences. And you think honesty is enough? The general's tone was critical, yet it held an undercurrent of curiosity. Every day, I see stories told by men who don't confess what really lies beneath their bravado. Are you willing to peel back those layers? Billy's insides tightened at the prospect. The deeper vulnerabilities, those were the ones that haunted him, the moments most people preferred to bury rather than showcase. In this moment, he wasn't just battling the general's skepticism, he was confronting his own fear of exposure. What if revealing those raw layers not only failed to help others but also shattered him in the process? Is it wrong to try? Billy pressed, conviction solidifying in the face of doubt. To show that strength lies in vulnerability? Strength, huh? The general narrowed his eyes, a flicker of respect crossing his features. It can also be a weakness if it's unrefined. If you're deciding to take this leap, you'd better brace for the fall. A lot of men won't understand your journey, some may even lash out at it. I'll risk it, Billy shot back, meeting the general's gaze with defiance. If we don't share, how can we create pathways to healing? The room around them felt charged, the other mechanics watching, hungry for resolution but fearful of conflict. Billy could sense the importance of his words reverberating throughout their comrades. This wasn't just a battle of wills, it was a litmus test for their burgeoning initiative. The general took a step closer, holding Billy's gaze. Then you better ensure your stories are worth hearing. Remember, words shape narratives, but actions solidify them. You'd better be prepared to embody the truths you share. As the general's shadow loomed over Billy, weighty and profound, that familiar spark of determination surged within him once more. Perhaps this confrontation wasn't a hurdle, perhaps it was a catalyst. Then let us make our words count, Billy declared, feeling the air change around him. He remained locked in the general's stare, each second stretching out, a visceral tension enveloping them. The path ahead was daunting, filled with both rejection and recognition. The figure stepped back, seemingly satisfied yet still scrutinizing, as he gestured for the door. "I'll be watching," he said, departing with a finality that echoed in the quiet garage. Billy's resolve flared in the wake of the encounter. He turned to the mechanics, galvanizing the energy in the room. "We're going to write like our lives depend on it, because they do." Yet beneath his burgeoning confidence lay a cauldron of doubt. Was the risk of sharing their truths outweighed by the potential for significant growth? Would they all be ready to face the scrutiny promised by their stories? As they gathered again to reforge their plans, his mind spiraled with unanswered questions, each carrying the weight of an impending challenge. Despite the excitement bubbling, he couldn't shake the feeling that a storm loomed close, one that could dismantle all they had forged. The new heading was clear and looming. Now more than ever, the group had to confront their fears head-on, but what awaited when they crossed that threshold? Billy stood in the garage, the air thick with anticipation and purpose. The echoes of the general's challenge reverberated in his mind. They had begun to establish their mission to share their stories, create a community that celebrated resilience, but with that, they now sought tangible proof of their courage and unity. "Today," Billy announced, drawing the attention of his fellow mechanics. "Today marks the start of something bigger. We're not just going to share our stories, we're going to show the world who we really are. We're going to create a community event, a showcase of our skills and experiences. We'll invite everyone to see the truth about what it means to be a veteran and a mechanic." Excitement rippled through the room, bouncing off the walls lined with tools and half-finished projects. The idea took root, branching into prospects and possibilities. This needn't be just a surface-level event, it should be filled with our narratives, enriching connections, and a space for everyone to express themselves, Billy continued, his voice gaining confidence as he spoke. A few mechanics exchanged glances, hesitating at first. Then, Dan raised his hand, a playful smile breaking across his face. "Are we really going to do this? A chance to show off what we've learned, earned, and endured?" The enthusiasm in his tone ignited a spark of excitement throughout the group. "We can pull this off." Another mechanic chimed in. "But we need to plan it well. We can't just throw it together last minute." "Yes," Billy agreed. "We need to define our objectives. Let us create workshops, hands-on demonstrations where we share our skills and experiences. Show others what it's like to be us, how we've navigated our journeys. And let us highlight our trades, repairs, custom builds, the art of mechanics that most people overlook." As they brainstormed, a vision emerged, community members learning from them, sharing laughter among their struggles and triumphs. Conversations flowed, energy blossomed, a symphony of ideas mixing and melding into one coherent message. These challenges they had faced, embedded with the scars of their past, could illuminate new paths forward. Billy stepped back for a moment to absorb the growing enthusiasm. Each idea presented of storytelling corners, skill demonstrations, and moments of sharing felt like a wave crashing over him. This was a transformative experience. They were no longer just a group of mechanics, they were becoming a collective, uplifting each other in their shared purpose. Yet just as the excitement peaked, a wave of apprehension began to bubble in his chest. The path wasn't without its obstacles. The memories of ridicule, the shadows of the past still loomed large. What if we fail? A part of him questioned. What if they mock us again? But then he remembered the feeling of standing up for himself, of the moment he turned his classmates' laughter into understanding. I believe in us, he eventually said, breaking through the noise of uncertainty. Every story we share, every workshop we lead, can change perceptions. It's time for this community to recognize the value hidden beneath the surface: our collective honor, our narratives, our resilience. A transformative agreement swelled among them, forged in newfound determination. They ventured into logistics, worked tirelessly to incorporate everyone's input, turning every idea into actionable steps. They established timelines, assigned roles, uncovered hidden talents, and scheduled follow-up meetings. Each interaction solidified their bond, transforming previous classmates into allies. As the day came to a close, Billy stepped back outside the garage, his heart racing with pride. He looked at the evening sky, where the day's sunshine faded into dusky hues, an apt reflection of their own transformation. The shared laughter and the collective enthusiasm that filled the garage represented more than just mechanics. It embodied courage, authenticity, and above all, respect. Weeks flew by, culminating in the zestful day of their event. The garage transformed into a vibrant arena. Alive with skill demonstrations, artful displays, and personal stories shared among laughter. They welcomed community members with open arms, creating an atmosphere rich in encouragement and support. Billy took a deep breath as he surveyed the crowd, feeling immense pride swell within him. Their stories, once shrouded in silence and pain, now served as beacons of hope. The connections forged that day etched deeper than any recognition he'd ever received. It was validation through community empowerment. This was not simply relief from the specters of the past, it was unadulterated personal achievement. He had emerged from the shadows, wielding his scars as symbols of strength rather than as burdens of shame. And when the event culminated with a poignant moment of gratitude, the applause wrapped around him like a warm embrace, cementing his place not just as a veteran but as a mechanic who dared to redefine what honor meant. Standing in that moment, knowing he had conquered self-doubt, he felt a solid confidence wash over him, the kind that births new beginnings. Billy had transformed beyond the mockery and pain, solidified by a purpose greater than himself, resonating within the hearts of others. The journey was never just about the recognition but shaping a narrative rooted in camaraderie, respect, and resilience. As the evening wound down and the laughter continued to echo, Billy realized that the most significant achievement wasn't about the accolades he had once longed for. It was about the connections fueled by mutual understanding, a newfound identity that would carry him forward into the years ahead, untouched by the past. And here, in the heart of the garage, he had finally become not just a veteran but a man triumphant both to himself and those around him. Now is the time to embrace your journey and join this community that celebrates the grit of personal overcoming. You need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive emotional stories that inspire and empower. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, ensuring that these narratives reach those who need them. Comment below your thoughts and reactions, it's crucial to share your voice. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us share the resilience that binds us.